I'm Chris, this is Gross Models, and this is my build for emodels.co.uk of the Benz Patent-motorwagen 1886. Now previously I've obviously built it. This is the painting video, so I did build it entirely without thinking about painting. I thought I'll paint it up when it's finished. It's all relatively open and easy to get to. It would have been easier to do it as I go, but this way I can make a video of building and then a video of painting. So yeah, it's for you guys that I put myself through the pains that I'm going to be putting myself through very shortly. So first off, I'm going to prime it. I'm going to prime it all in a black to give it nice depth, and so some of the metallics will come out better over a black. I'm going to spray it black, so I can't film me doing that, but just consider spray paint black, primer, done, sorted. I'll come back when that's done and we'll start the actual brush painting of the individual parts. So there we have it all in a gloss black. It looks really nice. It always does when you use black primer on these things, but that's that. So far so good. Now the instructions give you the paint call out codes in Revel and Tamiya. I'm not using either of those, but I have sorted out gloss black, which is the primer. So basically everything that you don't get a call out is done in gloss black. So that's all done already. I then need a semi-gloss black, black, white, dull red, wood, steel, brass, copper and gun metal. Now for those I am using Model Air from Vallejo. I've got black, white, red, wood. We've got copper, gunmetal, steel, yes, and indeed brass. So that's all the colours ready to go. Now the way that this is done, they're over there, they're fine. The way this is done in the instruction manual is step at a time. The colour callouts are these letters down here in the red squares, say A through E through J. So E is wood, and it says here all detail except marked separately should be done in gloss black. So basically all of this is gloss black, which it already is, which is nice and easy. This front piece should be in wood. So what I'm going to do is basically follow along the instructions as it goes. There's nothing else to do on there. This needs to be done in F, which is steel. So what I'm going to do is go through each page and try and find the corresponding part in the kit. Now, as I've done it already and built it, it does make it more tricky, but that's what makes it fun. So if I have that way round, for instance, that's the undercarriage here. These are the springs that I've got here. So I can track down and find this back piece. There we go. It's that back beam across there that's going to be done in wood. So the other thing that will help with the painting is this picture on the back, which gives you the front, side and back. So you can tell here the wood is obviously this colour. So it's not these spring pieces, they're staying in black. It's just that middle piece that needs to be wood, as does the seat and the back piece. Pretty much all of that's the wood colour. So I'm going to get these out. Now I'm not going to be spraying these, I am going to be brush painting these. So as they're already the air, they're already a little bit thinner than normal brush paint would be. So I'm not going to use a wet palette or anything. I'm just going to put these out onto a palette, a board, and brush from that. So yeah, I'll get some done and we'll start and see. You can see throughout obviously all of this it calls out different colours for different pieces. Now the one thing that is a little bit different is this one says A or D. It's like an optional design. A is obviously the gloss black, D is the dull red. I think I'm going to put the red in it because it needs a little bit of colour. Otherwise it's just too black. That's like the large flywheel at the back here, which I'm going to be using the red. Now I haven't got a dull red, I've got a plain red. I'm going to see how it looks. Going over the black, I think it's going to work if I just use one or two thin coats of it. But we can adjust and see how it goes throughout the build. So, starting with the wood, I'm going to start off with this back bracket. So I'll get the paints ready and we'll start. So I've got some wood paint ready, good to go. Load up the brush a little bit, get rid of a little bit, and start painting. Now obviously I'm not going to go through every brush stroke of everything. Apart from anything else, I'm going to have to get some goggles on to see a bit closer what I'm painting. So I shall show you intermediate stages here and there as I go around and across. So I shall see you in a moment. I've given the wood everywhere the wood needs to go except for the large big area, because that's going to get touched very easily. I've gone over a couple of coats on the back piece and one everywhere else, which needs more coats, as you can see, but it will build up and be okay. What I'm going to do now is nip in with some steel into the flywheels. Now this is the tricky bit. The outside of this needs to be steel. The inner that you can't actually see, the inner flywheel, the rubber belt thing, is actually in white. So I'm going to try some steel around the edges and on the actual wheel itself, just sort of like that. There we go. So you can sort of see how it's coming out, and that's going to make it really pop out from the black. So yes, once again I shall drift away, do a little bit more, and then come back and update you when I've got the steel. I'll pick out a couple of other steel pieces in there as well while I've got the paint ready. So there's another coat on bits of the wood and the steel on the pulley, basically the pulleys, both the little one there and on the top, and the outside of the big one. The inside of that's going to be in the red. A couple of the other rods in there are also meant to be in steel. So that's that. I'll put it down, let that dry again for a little while, and then come back. The wood I'm going to have to go over again. The steel I think I've got away with mostly. The wood, I'm not terribly worried if it's got some artifacts and graining in it, because it's meant to be wood, so it would have some shaping to it. So I'm hoping that that's going to work for me. But I'll let that dry, then come back in, touch up, and start with another colour. And the other colour is going to be the red. You may have noticed that I've gone ahead and done more of the wood on the whole sort of foot panel assembly area. Now, the red is somewhat difficult. This is one of the trickier ones to do. The interior bars on that, no problem at all. I can get to them, I can do that easily. The trickier piece is going to be this whole interior central canister, the main engine part. I'm going to be doing red. So yeah, getting into there could be somewhat tricky. So I'm going to start off easily by doing the bars. Now the instructions call for a dull red, which I don't have, but I'm thinking that a normal red over the black is going to give the effect of just being a sort of subtle red without being too noticeable. So probably a couple of coats of this on here should do it, and then I'll try and get in and do the other bit in there as well. So I won't bore you by filming all of the painting, because you know it's painting, but I shall come back and show you how that looks once I've got in there and it's dried and I've done probably a couple of coats of this. Right, the red I'm happy with. I've done the white as well, just the fan belt type thing is done in white. I have also done the chains across here in gunmetal. That's the only bit to be done in gunmetal. Now there's a couple of bits to be done in other metals. We've got copper and brass. Copper, I've got to do this whole top of this red section and the bit that's tucked away in there, this upward drum, and the straps that hold this one in place, although that one is going to be done in brass. So I'm not going to do that yet. I'm going to do the copper bits on here, and then the detail around that, and then I'll do this in brass and the bits on the edge in copper afterwards. It's always easier to do the bits over the top rather than the bits in between. So I've got some copper, and I shall just start putting it on. These metallic airs go on very nicely. Probably only need one coat with these, but we'll see how it looks once it's dried. And now we get to the penultimate colour, the brass. Now this is one that's going to be some easy bits and some tricky bits. The easiest of easy bits is going to be this valve on the front, which is just going to be brass coloured, pretty much like that. Now the more tricky bits, the other side of that valve comes out to here. This entire barrel here is done in brass, and then I've got to go back and do the copper bits on there. Also the tops of all of these pieces here, and one of the other tubes that attaches up in here has got to be done in brass as well. And then comes the tricky bit, apart from all the other tricky bits. I've got to do the hubcaps here and the interior in there. So I've got to get past all these, which I can't even see now. I've got to go past the spokes into that middle bit in there on all 3 wheels. So yes, oh, and there's also this sprocket on here as well. So I'll get all of those done, and then we'll come back. I'll touch up the copper bit where I've got to do that over the other thing there, and then the last colour is the black. I've got to do the seat and that in black. So I'll come back and show you how it looks before I touch up the black, and then final finishing off, and then we're finished. So that's that. I've still got to come back in and put in the copper onto the brackets that hold that brass thing in place. But apart from that, that's done. The last colour is a colour that we've sort of already used. We're going with black. This time we are going in with a black that's not the gloss black that I use for the primer, which is suitable for everything that's not being painted. This is a matte black, or semi-gloss black. It's basically, it's black. This is mainly for, well, only for, in fact, the tyres and the seat and seat back and cushion. So I'm just going to start doing some of that for you. It probably, well, it's going to look different while it's wet, but when it dries, it's going to look slightly different to the black surrounding it. So this is just going to be going around the padded areas, basically, the sort of rubbery or leathering, I assume, in case of the seat. So I'll get that done. I'll get the brass on there, touch up a couple of other places where I've got, you know, the brass where I was trying to go in between the spokes. Obviously I've got it on here. I'll go over that again with the gloss, and then that should be finished off. And there we have it, finished, completed, painted, touched up. It's not perfect, but nothing I do ever really is. It's good enough. It looks all right. I'm very happy with the build. I would have been much happier painting it as I assembled it rather than trying to paint it after building. So if you are building this kit, paint it as you go. Don't try and do it after the fact, because it's much harder than it needs to be. But it's gone together nice. It is a nice little build. The engine at the back there is quite pleasant. It's got a certain something to it that makes it look quite nice. So yeah, I've been happy with the build so far. If you do want to pick one up, they are available obviously at emodels.co.uk. I'll put a product code and all that's in the title of the video and everything. You'll be able to find it there pleasantly enough. So yes, pick one up, have a build of yourself, build it as you go rather than trying to paint it after the fact. But I'm happy with how that's come out. That will be going along to eModels when it can, and you'll be able to see it in their display case at some point. So yeah, hope you've enjoyed the build. If you have, let me know. If you haven't, let me know, and we'll see what we can do to improve things going forwards. So thank you all for watching, stay safe, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye for now.